Alright, so we want to find the equation of the line that passes through these 2 points, and my final answer needs to be in slope-intercept form. I need to begin by finding the slope of the line. To find the slope of the line, we need to subtract the y-coordinates on the top. The y-coordinates are 2 and 7. It doesn't matter what order I subtract them in. I guess I'll go 7 minus 2. And on the bottom, we have to subtract the x-coordinates. So again, it doesn't matter what order I subtract the y-coordinates in on the top, but whatever order I choose, I need to do the same on the bottom with the x's. So since I started with the 7 on the top from the second order pair, I need to make sure I start with the 12 on the bottom. So I'll go 12 minus 4. And so we have 5 over 8, which is reduced. So there's the slope. Now, they want slope-intercept form, but to get to slope-intercept form, what typically happens is we first use point-slope form, which is y minus y1 equals the slope x minus x1. Once we have the answer in point-slope form, we would then arrange it. We would do a little bit of algebra to get it into slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. All right, so the slope is 5/8, and then we're given 2 points. We can use either one we want. I guess I'll use the first one. So the 4 is going to be the x sub 1, and the 2 is going to be the y sub 1 in the point slope form over here. All right, so point slope form is y minus the y coordinate, which is 2, equals the slope, and then x minus the x coordinate. All right, so now I got to get this in slope-intercept form. I'm going to begin by distributing the 5/8. So we have y minus 2 equals, and then 5/8 times x would be 5/8 x minus, and now I have to go 5/8 times 4. 5/8 times 4 would end up being 5/2. 5/2. But I'll work that out off to the side. So we have to figure out 5/8 times 4. Well, there's different ways I could do this. I could just multiply straight across. Notice that 4 is really 4 over 1, and so I could put 5 times 4 over 8 times 1, and then I could reduce. 4 goes into the top 5 times, and 4 goes into the bottom twice, so there's 5/2. Or again, 5/8 times 4. There's really no need to multiply straight across, although we could, like I just demonstrated. We could just reduce right here. 4 goes into 4 once, 4 goes into this twice, and then that would give me my 5/2. All right, so the only thing I have left to do now to get this in slope-intercept form is to add 2 to both sides. And so we have y equals 5/8 x, and now I need to figure out what negative 5/2 plus 2 is. I'll work that out off to the side over here. Negative 5/2 plus 2. I'm going to rewrite 2. I'm going to change 2 into 4 over 2. Now I have a common denominator, right? So I change 2 into 4 over 2 because in order to add fractions, we need a common denominator. And so negative 5/2 plus 4/2 is negative 1/2. And so here's our answer in slope-intercept form. All right, so we're given a function in function notation h of x, and the question that I was asked was about h of negative 1. All right, so computing h of negative 1. To get h of negative 1, we're going to insert negative 1 into all the x's. So it'll be negative 1 squared minus 2 times negative 1 minus 3 over 2 minus negative 1. So notice that I put negative 1 into all the x's. It's important that when putting negative 1 into the x's to utilize parentheses, because the signs could be different. It's easy to make a sign error. So negative 1 quantity squared would be positive 1. So negative 1 quantity squared that means negative 1 times negative 1, of course, which is 1. But if I were to forget the parentheses, which is a common mistake, then this negative 1 squared without the parentheses really means, 1 times 1 with the negative out front, and that would result in negative 1. And this isn't what I want. I want x squared. I want the whole number squared, so it's important to use parentheses. So negative 1 squared is 1, and then I have negative 2 times negative 1, that's positive 2, minus 3. And on the bottom, that double negative creates a plus sign. And so up top, we have 1 plus 2, that's 3, minus the 3. So on the top, it looks like I get 0. And 0 divided by 3 is 0.